Hi everyone, welcome to our October Click and Chat. This time we are joined by Michelle, who is the digital marketing specialist at Harman and Ilford. You know, the place you all know and love for those black and white Ilford films, and also now, of course, their first colour film, Phoenix. So we'll have lots of exciting things to talk about today. It's all going to be about anniversaries. So we've got coming up to a year of Phoenix now. That was released at the beginning of December.
Yes,
It's gone so fast. And then you've also recently celebrated your 145th anniversary of Ilford FP4 and HP5.
Yeah. Well, Ilford is a general, so yeah, it's been a crazy year.
Yeah, it's been a big year for anniversaries, but yeah, I don't know if any of you got your hands on the retro packaged HP5 and FP4. No.
It's still around. There should
It will be making the rounds.
We've tried to do enough for everybody, so even though it is limited, it's not gonna. People shouldn't be too, it shouldn't be too hard to get a hold of.
That's really exciting. Okay, amazing. So I will hand it over to you, Michelle, if you want to start with your presentation.
Fab. I'm going to run through some slides and stuff first. I've seen some questions that people have submitted, so I'll go through these. Like Amy said, if anyone wants to ask anything, just shout. So I think looking at the faces and the names, quite a few of you have actually met before, either online or in person at photo awards and things. So I've worked for Harman for 20-something years, obviously straight from school. I work in our marketing department. We're a really small department. There's 3 of us that looks after the Ilford Harman brands worldwide. So we're always on the go. And we do everything. My main purview is things like our digital sites, our websites, our social media. But because we're such a small department, I was also led the Phoenix launch, the brand name. We came down and annoyed a few at Analogue Wonderland when we were talking about it and things like that. So yeah, it's a great role. I love it. I love what I do, and being a film shooter and a darkroom printer, it kind of fits perfectly with things I enjoy. I think we always tell our board and our directors that the Analogue community and film shooters, they know if someone's genuine, if they're actually involved in the community, or if they're just making it up as they go along. So, being part of that community to me is important, even outside of my role, because it's something I enjoy doing in my free time. So, as Amy mentioned, it's been a year of anniversaries for us. 145 years this year, which is really exciting. Obviously, we were founded in 1879, and we moved up here to Mobley in the 1980s, which was a massive move because our coating machines and everything were disassembled. They came up piece by piece. So yeah, it was a huge project, and what's really interesting is we've got staff here who were actually based in Essex when we were down in Ilford, and actually came up here. And whether they be first or second generation, they moved up here and they've stayed up here, and they're still with us now. We're only quite a small team on site. We've got about 200 and just over 200 people. But we've got people that have been here from a few days to people that have celebrated 50 odd years. So it's quite a diverse, quite an interesting place to work. What's been really exciting this year is the talk of the future. We've invested, it's something, it's really exciting. Yeah, we put out a press release that we've put a multi-million pound investment into the future, into our future here, which gives us the ability to design 2 new converting machines, which are the first, it says in here, that have been done since the millennium. And the idea is it will become like a hub of photographic progress and things like that. So, we're really lucky. We have a fantastic engineering team on site, and they keep these machines that we have running, from our coating machines to our cassette machines to everything that we have. Without them, we couldn't continue as a business. But actually, to have 2 brand new state-of-the-art machines that we've been able to design for ourselves from the ground up is something really exciting. And for me to work for a company that's talking about their 5-year plans, their 10-year plans for the future, is actually really great to hear. It gives me hope that there's always going to be a film manufacturer, that I'm going to be able to carry on shooting film. My kids will be able to carry on shooting film, and it's something that will always be around. So one of the things we wanted to do was celebrate this 145 years, and that's, it's a big achievement. There aren't many businesses around that have done this, and for us, one of the things that we get asked again and again when we go to trade shows, when we go out and about, especially if we've got displays with some of the retro packaging, is, oh, would you ever make it? Would you ever make it? And we're like, I'm not sure we'd ever do it, but we felt this was the time, that if we're going to do it, now's the time to do it. We couldn't really do it across the range just due to quantities and how they work. But we look back, we looked at some of the older packaging here, some of the inspiration around it. And we felt that with the FP4 and the HP5, we could actually quite easily do that and tie it in with our modern production. So it's still the same film and everything inside. But we've updated some of the adverts slightly. And we had loads of fun designing the packaging and the cassettes. So the packaging, the cassettes are all retro styled, right down to like your exposed and unexposed labels. Whereas the film inside obviously is standard as it was. You can see on the right, we couldn't get it exactly the same, but I don't think we're far off. And yeah, it's a bit of fun. We know that film shooters are collectors by nature as well, which is why we initially thought we'd make enough for 3 to 4 months. Whether it lasts quite that long, I'm not sure worldwide, but some of the markets like the US are only just starting to get theirs now because of the longer shipping times. So in the UK, we've been quite lucky that we had it very, very quickly. I think you guys, I know Wonderland were probably one of the first to order it. As soon as it's gone out the door in the UK, people are excited about it. It's fun. We've had a couple of naysayers, but I think you get that on a lot of things. So the other celebration this year is the 12 months with the Phoenix. We launched on the 5th of December last year, which was fun. It was chaos. It was fantastic. And as we knew all along, the film community got it. They knew that it wasn't just a new colour film. For us, it was a statement of things to come. And part of this investment that we've been doing as a business is actually to make sure and to help to grow our colour capability for the future as well. Black and white is never going to go away for us. It's always going to be our core business, but we have so many plans for the future of colour too. So, I mean, just a bit of basic information. We had to do it under Harman. We don't have the right to use the Ilford name on any colour images. It's not actually, we don't own the brand, but we do have a license to use it forever for black and white analog products. So Harman Photo was our colour film brand. It was quite interesting, a bit nerve-wracking for me on the web and social side of it. We've gone from 500,000 followers on Ilford Photo Instagram to having 4 on launch day on the Harman Photo. So it was like, oh, what's going to happen? But the community have been amazing as usual. They've really, really got behind it. We had a bit of fun with some teasers coming up to it, and some of the comments that people made on these were amazing. They were just really, really funny. I believe one of my favourite ones, where I've not been teased this much since I was with my ex-wife. It was loads of fun just getting this out there. People were guessing. There were some crazy guesses, but there were some brilliant ones, and people got it right. So yeah, we launched in December. It went better than we thought it would, and we immediately sold out, which actually sounds great, but wasn't ideal, because then it meant we were starving the market before we could get the next lot out. We were having to restrict what people had. But for us with Phoenix, it's our new first ever colour film. We've been really honest, and one thing we'll always do is we'll try and be open and honest with the film community, because it doesn't get you anywhere to not be. Sorry, I'm trying to open 2 screens, so it's blinking a little bit. The launch, as I said, it went quite well. Unfortunately, it was December, which we tied it in because our biggest market's the US, and it worked well, the timing over there. Unfortunately, in Europe, a lot of the world, wasn't the best time to launch a 200 speed colour film that lights light. So we got some mixed results. It was, yeah, I mean, some people loved it straight away. Some people embraced the quirks of it. We told people it's grainy, it's contrasty. You might get halation. And some people loved it. Some people said they'd never shoot it again. I mean, these images here are all 35mm that I'm sharing at the moment, and you can see the grain in there. But yeah, they're still quite nice. It was our first attempt. Yeah, we weren't expecting. We went from a year before going, can we do this, to yeah, we can, and this is what it looks like. So it was really, really exciting. And what we did over the summer was we tried to push a summer of Phoenix. So we shared some different images. We have some collateral, some bits and pieces that we shared out there. We did some competitions on our socials and things like that to try and get people out and shooting it under the right conditions for Phoenix, which had some really, really nice results. And we've seen some much improved images coming from it now. I mean, some people just love the quirkiness of shoot for halation. They want that contrast and grain in there. Others, it's not their cup of tea. One of the things that we were trying to work on alongside this, I mean, is the scanning settings, and I'll talk a bit more about them after. Because we found that depending on which scanning you use, you could get very, very different results. And we've actually just updated our scanning settings again to optimize for Phoenix and for using the Frontier, and then scan it as positive and reversing it, and it actually seems to work really well. So I'll put some links and things in for that. So I don't know if any of you shot Phoenix, but one thing we did and one thing we want to do is bring like the film community, film shooters along and help them shape the future of our colour film to a point. So inside every box there was a QR code for feedback, and we asked people to tell us what we thought if they'd shot it, what they liked, what they didn't like, what they'd like to see in future. We also have that same form on the harmanphoto.co.uk website. So even if someone hadn't shot it, but they wanted something different, or they wanted to help shape what our R&D department were looking at, they could go on and fill in that form. And we got some really, really interesting results. Sorry, my chair is shrinking, so I'm just going to pick myself back up a little bit.
Disappearing.
I can feel myself getting lower and lower as I'm going down. So by far, the most requested thing was a Phoenix in 120 from day one. Even before people could possibly have shot it, we were getting requests for Phoenix in 120, which is why we wanted to try and get this out within the first year. The other results were quite interesting. We really had a mix. And it was things like, we love the contrast, we love the grain, love the quirky colours. And then the next one would be, the grain's awful, hate the contrast, the colours are terrible. So we've had this real mix of the two different things, with, to be honest, no real clear picture of what people want. I think whichever way we'd gone, we'd be making some people happy. For us, the one thing we have done since we launched in December is every time we've coated and manufactured, is there have been some small incremental improvements. So if you were to look at a roll that we launched back in last December and then look at a current roll, you'd notice that the base looks slightly different. And when it's developed, that magenta hue is actually slightly fainter now than it was. We've managed to get rid of some spots and things like that. They've gone. And there have been some small improvements, but not enough for us to launch it as a new film yet. Saying that, our R&D are still working away. They're looking on new versions, and working with what people have fed back in. So we're looking at grain, we're looking at contrast, we're looking at that colour curve, because it drops off really, really quickly. And seeing what improvements can we make for a another film, be it Phoenix 2 or something different if it's a big enough step change. I mentioned scanning very briefly, and this is where we've seen the biggest differences. So I think the original scanning settings that we developed with, we spoke to different labs, including Wonderland, Blue Moon. We spoke to a few labs, and between us, we came to what we found were the best settings for a scanner. And straight prints look very different on this base. So these have had no alterations, nothing done with them. And straight away, you can see the differences between the two images on the Frontier and on the Noritsu scanner. So what we have said to people is, if you get images back that you're not thrilled with, you know, it's not that the lab's done something wrong. It's not like, but please have another go. Just go take your images back. Maybe try scanning them yourself with a DSLR or something like that, and just see if you get a very different result, because the scan settings make such a huge difference to this film that actually it can go from having an image that you're not that keen on to one that you really like. Saying that, I've also found personally that the 120 film and the larger negative really plays into the plus points and the strong points of the Phoenix film. Obviously, larger negative, the grain's less visible. But I find, for me, the colours seem to render slightly better. I'm getting more of that contrast of that right the way through into the shadows and things. I mean, I am still losing detail, but these are just straight scans on the old settings. So these are just straight scans on the Frontier. No adjustments in Lightroom or Photoshop. So we are seeing differences with the 120 film, and we're seeing that across the board, the images that are being shared. Some of them are warmer, and I think that's, again, scanning settings. Some people prefer that look of it, and it is a warmer film, but we found that even the warmth goes to more neutral tones if you either DSLR scan or use a flatbed, or scan and then reverse.
Yeah, Michelle, sorry, can I just jump in there? We had a question from Heather. She just asked what scanners we use at AW, and we do use the Noritsu for Phoenix, and obviously, like Michelle said, we worked closely with Harman, that was the preferred scanner to use. But obviously, again, it depends on, you know, what look you want. You know, it can be scanned on the Fuji as well, but that does produce like the much cooler tones. So yeah, it's totally, you know, your preference. And like Michelle said, if you're not happy with the results, you know, we can have a look at that, and we can always use a different scanner.
It is hard, and the thing for us is it's not a straightforward film to scan. I think there's lots of labs who were possibly not their favourite people, because the results can be so different, which is why we've tried to put these settings together. And it is, I mean, some people prefer that warmer image tone, and that's what most labs, I think, have actually used. So the Noritsu is one. It's what you like, and a lot of people, myself included, I get my scans back from the lab, and normally I'd go into Lightroom and adjust them and get where I want. Although the last couple I've done with the Phoenix on the 120, I've actually flatbed scanned and got really straight results straight away, which are usable results. So it is quite interesting. I don't know if you see much difference in the lab with the 120 stuff coming through, Amy. I mean, I've seen the stuff I've seen online from labs is so much cleaner on the 120, but I think that's like, yeah, it's a bigger negative.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. Yeah, it's much cleaner.
I mean, you can see the difference here in the base. So the one on the very far right is on the Noritsu, and it's the same image. The lighting's the same, but it's so much warmer.
Yeah.
These were done, I don't know what they were, I think these were DSLR actually, but again, just the images are so much better. I mean, you've got your halation coming through. We know there's a chance of halation. Some people love it, some people don't like it at all. And again, it's just that bit cleaner than the 35mm. We've seen a real mix. Some people play, I mean, Danielle here, I remember saying she knew she was going to get the halation. but she's quite happy with that. They like the look of it. So yeah, it has been. These are my favourites. I think we're just stunning. If we hadn't been with Jose when he shot these, we'd have never believed he'd have not done anything to them. But we saw them coming out the camera, and we're like, wow, what are you doing that we're not doing? And we've got a couple of videos, actually, how-tos coming up with him, that just are shorts on TikToks and things, and reels, just explaining his method. But he just has his studio set up, his lighting set up. He knows his camera inside out, and he knows what works for him.
Those are really like super cool.
Really nice, aren't they? I mean, they're not, I don't think I could shoot that on my best day, but and then it is, I mean, the people that we've seen images from are all very, very different. And they are the mix. People are doing their own thing, which is quite exciting. Yeah, so for us, it's been a crazy 12 months. We don't do quiet. With the retro and the 120 Phoenix, and looking at our plans, I don't think the next 12 are going to be much quieter, or even the next 3 or 4 or 5.
First.
Yeah. So yeah, so that was the slide. So we go to the. I don't know if you want to go through the questions that you've got.
Yeah, no worries. I'll start reading them out. I mean, I guess that leads on from what you've just said. People were asking, like, is there anything in the pipeline? Any thoughts for a new colour film? Development plans for Harman? I suppose you mentioned that briefly about Phoenix.
Yeah. There's a basic answer. I mean, our colour roadmap, sticking on the Harman styling colour at the moment, our colour roadmap is crazy. I mean, there's plans, like I say, for the next 5 years, for the next 10 years. And, you know, we'd love to eventually be in competition with the other colour brand out of there, but it's not going to happen now. You know, we're on our first film, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of plans afoot. Our R&D department are busy. They're working on Phoenix 2 or whatever. So the next iteration of this will be an improvement, which is what we promised, that every new version will be an improvement on the one previous. But there might be a few other things that will slide in between them. You never know.
Casually, yeah. No big deal. That's cool.
Are there any plans in the pipeline for the Ilford side? Yeah. This is what I said. There's a reason that we're kind of like, yeah, never stop. So yeah, I mean, we're not forgetting Ilford. We're looking at something quite interesting at the moment. I have to be very careful what I say, especially if it's going on YouTube. But yeah, we've got plans, and we've got product development plans on both sides of the business. Obviously, colour Harman side is very new, very exciting, but Ilford is where we've come from and where we'll always be a part of. So yeah, we get a lot of product requests in on the Ilford side. Some of them more doable than others. But yeah, we're hoping that in the next, where are we? Maybe not the next couple of months, but in the next few months, you will start seeing some things come through. I have to be very careful how I say it. What we'll also be doing is we'll be launching another film user survey, like a global one that isn't really for our brand particularly, but it gives us some idea of what people are looking for, what they'd like to see in the future, and that gives colour and black and white. So that'll be coming out in the next couple of weeks. Yeah, there's already plans in place on the Ilford side, but that survey gives you the chance to tell what you'd like to see as well. So keep an eye out for that.
Very exciting. Okay, cool. Someone's asked, is Phoenix 120 the same as 35mm, or is there like a slightly improved emulsion?
Right, it's exactly the same emulsion. It's just the larger negative.
Yeah,
makes it look better, and it is the same emulsion, but like I said earlier, we have made improvements to that emulsion from the very first one that we made back in December, or it was actually earlier than that, last year, when there was a few spots on it. It was more contrasty. You're getting less of a colour range, and I think the grain was probably heavier to look at too. So yeah, there have been some incremental improvements, but those have carried through to the 35mm as well, so 120.
Yeah, nice. Someone has said, how can I lose less detail in the shadows with Phoenix?
Scanning is that it's worth having a look at your negatives. and seeing actually is the detail in the negatives. Because we always say with Phoenix exposed to the midtones, it's rated at 200. We found a lot of people shooting it at 160. It likes good light, but not massively bright light. So if it's a bright day, but you're maybe not in direct sunlight, that's the sort of light it likes. It doesn't like inconsistency. So it doesn't like a scene with really deep shadows, really bright highlights. It will struggle there. It hasn't got the range for it at the moment. But again, scanning, just have a look at the details in your negatives. Maybe try putting it around a flatbed or something like that if you're not happy with the results you've got back. Or excuse me, it does make, I can't emphasize how much of a difference it makes. And this isn't anything that labs are doing wrong. It's a really, really tough film to scan, and the settings that are out there that we developed with Analogue, with Wonderland, with the other labs out there, were the best fit at the time. I mean, we have made some changes onto the new document, but they're not huge changes, and it's just from feedback we've had from other people that we've then tested in-house. So yeah, I'd have a look at your next, check the details in your negatives, and then maybe have a go at rescanning them on either a flatbed or DSLR and see what you get.
Yeah, okay, sounds good. Someone has asked, you kind of mentioned it a little bit, but they've asked how pushing and pulling the film affects it. You know, like you said, a lot of people have shot it at 100 and they've found that they've preferred results. But I guess the other way, you know, if you're pushing it from 200, it's just going to be increased grain, isn't it?
Well, you're going to see more grain. I haven't seen many great results with it pushed. I'd probably stay away from that. To be fair, I wouldn't go much higher than 200. But yeah, pulling, we've seen 100, 160. They seem quite popular, and it copes really well with that.
Yeah, nice. Okay, I think the rest of the questions submitted you've kind of covered already. So has anyone got any questions right now they'd like to ask Michelle? Yep, Ben?
I've still got some Phoenix film that I bought at launch, and you mentioned that the emulsion has changed slightly. There've been improvements. So if I'm sending one of those films, if I take it in the next month or two and I send it to Analogue Wonderland, is it worth putting a note in to say this is original stock film just for scanning, so they know for scanning, or does it not really matter?
I think they're really used to do. I mean, Wonderland especially are used to dealing with the Phoenix film, so they know as soon as it's developed that it's an early one, because it's obvious, it's darker.
Right. Okay.
So they'd be able to handle that for you.
Great. Thanks.
Nice.
Or something else comes through then.
Something pop up. Heather said, do you think Ilford will ever do a 1600 film, black and white?
Ooh, I wouldn't say never to anything. I think the thing is whether there'd actually be enough demand for it. We know that the Delta 3200, most people shoot at 16 anyway. Well, a lot shoot it at 1600. So I wouldn't say never, but I think there'd have to be a real case for it. We'd have to have the demand for it in order to do it. Whereas, I mean, if you haven't tried it, try shooting the HP5, pushing it. That works really, really well.
Yeah.
Or pull the Delta 3200 back. Yeah, I mean, HP5, I think we've probably seen more shots of it pushed than we've ever done in the past. And people tend to shoot it. Yeah, I mean, it does really well. I've seen people do crazy stuff like up to 25-600 or further.
Wow.
So there you go.
Yep.
Please share your results, Heather. Tag us as well as Analogue Wonderland, whoever. But yeah, please share your results. If you use hashtag Ilford HP5 as well, we were more likely to see them, although Instagram's algorithms lately seem to try to make things as difficult as possible, I think. But yeah.
There's a question from Alice as well. Any plans for a C41 developer?
Maybe.
Okay.
Maybe. Yeah, again, the colour roadmap is pretty big. Yeah, it's one of the things that's a possibility on the table it won't happen this year, but it's something, if we're going to develop more colour films, then we'd be crazy not to look at that as an idea.
Yeah. Okay. Paul, did you have a question? Oh, you're on mute if you want to unmute yourself.
Hello?
There we go. We can hear
Right, good. Yes, I already asked a question on the email about the frame numbers on 120 roll film being very faint. Have you changed that with the Phoenix emulsion? Because if you're using an old folding camera that has the red window, you're stuck. I have both the modern cameras and the old ones. I do a lot of photographs of landscapes and historical sites. And sometimes it's a lot easier to take a compact folding camera in 120 along with digital. And then you find you're standing there, the Scottish lights, you know, I mean, up the hills, I can't see this. I've had torches shining on the red window trying to see the number. So that's why if I'm doing that, I don't shoot Ilford. I've got to use Fomapan.
Yeah, it is something that a few people have asked for. And I think both ours and the yellow company's 120 is quite faint. It's there because we don't want any of that transfer through to the film. And we found with other companies, if we go much darker, you sometimes get that transference through to the negatives. So this is what we found works for us. There's no plans to change that at the moment at all.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, well, answers that. Okay.
It makes sense. Okay, Ben, did you have another question?
Well, I just realised I've left my hand up. But yes, there was just something. There's a photographer in the States who for many years has been using old stock of Cibachrome products, and it's absolutely fantastic work. And I realise it's a technology that's long since been discontinued. But I guess it's really just a comment, really, that I think if something like that, appreciate availability of materials changes, but if the availability of something like that could become available in the future, I think that would be quite exciting.
Yeah, for us, it's something we could never do as it was done because it isn't our product. It's the other Ilford who actually own the brand on that name. But yeah, I mean, we know there's a lot of love for those sort of products out there. So for now, no plans on that side of it. But like I say, the colour roadmap is just so vast. It's more picking what we do first and how it's done. But yeah, it's something. Cibachrome, unfortunately, was the other Ilford, so we can't resurrect it as such. Obviously, we could never do anything coloured under the Ilford name anyway. It has to be with a Harman. Yeah, sorry.
Thank you. Okay, I have something exciting worth mentioning as well then. Michelle and I have been chatting about a photo walk. I won't reveal too much at the minute, obviously, because we need to confirm the details, but we're hoping that it will be in February. So it'll be with ourselves and Harman. So yes, keep an eye out for that. We'll be announcing that soon, hopefully. It's exciting.
One way's warming up in February, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Behind you, it's closest to the time. But yeah, that's something to look forward to.
No, that's good. Thank you all so much for coming along.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we'll kind of, as long as no one else has any questions, yeah, we'll sign off here. But if you do, pass them through to us and we can pass them on to Michelle and the team. All right, thank you. Bye.